I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta. Hey, Doug! Doug! Oh, that's right, Doug's dead.
Pop Culture Pastor.
Okay, Cody. Usually
That's my name.
You didn't change it in the week since we've spoken?
It's not how I roll.
That's good. I like friends that never change. It makes me feel comfortable. I don't ever have to roll with anything.
You know what you're getting from this guy.
I'm like Garth in Wayne's World. I fear change.
Never change, pony boy. You stay golden.
This would normally be where we have some, kind of clever or funny thing to start off and talk about. I just don't know that I have anything this week. My voice is a little hoarse. I don't know if people can hear that or not.
We're phoning it in.
It's a week and a half before playing at Comic-Con, and we're phoning it in, baby. This is a phone it in episode. Just so you know, right off the top.
Whatever that means.
We didn't know what we were talking about till 5 minutes ago.
Pretty much. I'm not going to lie. It all just kind of fell together.
We're kidding a little bit. We put a little thought into it.
So it's been more than 5 minutes, but it all falling together for my portion literally probably happened within the last hour. So,
okay, good. Yeah. So we're here. We're going to do this. We're going to, you know what? Let's just, I do want to start with something weird. First of all, this is Pop Culture Pastor,
the podcast.
My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
And, we're just, I want to go over some news, but this is culture. I don't know that it's pop culture because it has to do with Wendy's. It's not our usual bag here on the pod. We usually talk about, TV, movies, that sort of thing. But I wanted to talk about Wendy's because they're doing something interesting. Have you heard about this?
Unfortunately, I have.
Yeah, this is from, where am I coming from here? Gizmodo. I'm sure this is not where the original story came, but from Gizmodo, that journalistic bastion. We'll give them credit.
Yes.
This quote, Wendy's will start experimenting with surge pricing, much like Uber and Lyft, as the company rolls out digital menus to all its United States restaurants by 2025, according to the company's February earnings call. Under the test, burgers, Frosties, and other menu items will have, quote, dynamic prices, costing more during times of increased demand.
So I don't like this.
Oh, yeah. Tell me why.
Because I have a certain budget. And if it's a Wendy's day, the budget ain't ready for surge pricing.
Well, I have some questions.
But, I mean, movie theaters kind of tried to do this or talked about doing something similar. Instead of just having generic movie seat prices, it's like prime real estate. This one's going to get jacked up, and everything else will be at your bare regular seat price.
Okay, that's my problem, I think. This is what I want to know. It's like, okay, well, that's fine. But, the front corner seat in the movie theater that nobody likes? So is that going to be below the average ticket price? Or are you just going to raise the popular ones? Because if you're just going to raise the popular ones, this sounds like price gouging. That's all this is.
It is.
That's insane. Why would I go there? Like, okay, Wendy's, that's cool. So my question is okay, so the menu items people don't get, like the chili. Like no one's getting the chili. Is that going to get cheaper? And if not, then why would I go to your restaurant? Because I'm not paying 3 times more for a Frosty because you had a bus come in that day and all the kids got Frosties. That's not fair.
Literally half the reason I go to a popular chain in our town is because they have happy hour with drinks and slushes. And so, like, when you mark things down, I'm more likely to go. And then sometimes I'll treat myself.
That has been the general practice of businesses for, since capitalism. Like you mark things down, you have a quote unquote sale. Like Kmart literally, its whole existence is based on the blue light special.
Yes.
Where you had to be in the store at the time. It was like a cool game. All of a sudden be like, there's a blue light special. And then you see the light shine and be like, where is it? Where is it? We got to go find it. And you run around the store, you're looking for it. You find the blue light and it's like, Clorox.
Yeah.
But look how cheap it is, man. We're going to get some of that. Give me 4 bottles of the Clorox.
I mean, I think if you're Wendy's and you're doing this, you have to introduce a special menu item that creates FOMO.
I thought you were going to be like, that's actually good.
I'm not going to bash Wendy's.
Yeah, but listen, I'm taking it out on them a little bit because I think this is a scam. This sounds like a scam. You're just going to charge more prices arbitrarily when something's popular? Like, the cost of making it didn't go up. The materials didn't go up. Your rent didn't go up. What's happening here?
And it's not going to help you make it any faster because if there's like 200 people ordering your Dave specials.
Let's just be very clear.
It's going to take the same amount of time.
Fast food's not a thing anymore.
Yes.
It went bye-bye.
And so, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to tell me that, like, do the employees get extra pay during this? Because that would be something that would be intriguing at least. And I might be like, I guess I get it. But at the same time, I probably would be like, you just need to pay your employees a fair wage to begin with.
Yeah. I have a feeling that Uber and Lyft do this because there is a finite number of Uber and Lyft drivers in an area.
There is.
And if they're super busy, it means their time is actually worth more because there are only so many pickups they can possibly make. So then it becomes like a highest bidder type thing. Like, well, hey, okay, if you're willing to pay the price, then pay the price. We'll come pick you up and give you a ride. The problem with the fast food joints is no, you don't have a finite amount. You literally have a business based on assembly line, based on we'll get as many ingredients as we can fit in the store, keep replacing them. Like, this is bogus, right? I'm not frustrated for no reason here, right? This doesn't make any sense.
It is a little bananas.
Fascists. Those fascists at Wendy's, they put a cute little redheaded girl on their sign, think we're going to fall for that? It's Hitler.
I don't know what Dave Thomas would think about this.
Dave Thomas, lovely man Dave Thomas is spinning in his grave. Actually, I don't care that much. I don't like this thing when these companies do this and they make it seem like it's something different, something new. And really all they're doing is raising their price. It's just an excuse to raise their prices arbitrarily.
Especially when like half of their advertisement is like, oh, we have this special that it's on sale and we're going to highlight that you can get like 2 for $5 or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that no longer exists, especially if we're price gouging every time that there's a in-town football game.
Yeah. And it's always these places too. Like a couple weekends ago, my family and I went to Fat Burger in Wichita. I'd never been to a Fat Burger before.
It's good.
Unfortunately named Amazing Burger. It was a great burger. I was like, man, this is a really good burger. But it's always places like this, like Wendy's. Wendy's just sitting there waiting to be mediocre. Like it's just there. There's nothing Wendy's does that I think, oh man, I gotta go there for that.
So there is something they do.
Oh, okay. What is that?
Well, actually, there's 2 things. I'll get to the thing that most people would think of, and that's the Frosties and the fries, even though when they changed their fries, it wasn't as good. But the second thing is their social media account. It burns all the competition. So I don't know why you're doing this. This backfires on the cleverness of your social media team. That's like, I'm going to roast Burger King today.
We need to tag Wendy's when we put this pod on social media in the hopes that they roast us, just to give us some free pub.
Or to say we're sorry, and here is some free Frosties.
Yeah. I'm not, like, look, I don't mind Wendy's. I'm not trying to, I'm having some fun with it. But I'm not going to lie, it is frustrating. It's frustrating to see these companies in a time when food prices have tripled in the last 3 years anyways.
It's not a good look.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And you're disguising it in this, like, oh, it's kind of a cool new thing. Like, what, price gouging? That's not new.
Nope, it is not.
All right, let's get to real pop culture news. Do you know who Isabella Merced is?
Name sounds familiar.
Yeah, she's one of the actresses in Madam Web.
Oh, yeah, that's why her name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so she's of Peruvian origin, our friends in Peru. She seems like a lovely person, but she's about to fall into this trap, as you'll see, that we talk about a lot here on the show. And it's an IP trap. We talk a lot about IP and the trouble that the companies that have the responsibility of making more stories in this IP and the conflict they have with fans and all this. Well, she came out, and of course, since she was in Madam Web, she has to cope with why it's, why it failed. And she said this. She said it failed for one simple reason. Quote, "For the same reason the Marvels or Bird of Prey failed, because the male audience still hides a deep contempt for everything that is starring strong, independent women." Cody, when is this going to stop? Like, when this is not, like, with all due respect to Isabella, with all due respect, this is not just like, online audience. What do they call it when the audience is the review bombing? This is not review bombing. The vast majority of critical response of this movie is it is a steaming, flaming mess.
So I will take issue with my friend from Peru, who my dear friend Paddington the Bear also is from Peru. But Birds of Prey made money.
Okay.
It didn't lose it. It made it. It just didn't make it at the rate that Warner Brothers was hoping it would make it at. Mm-hmm. The issue is she signed on for a Marvel movie, but not for an MCU movie.
Yeah.
She signed on with Sony. Sony, like, even though Venom has made money, it's not raking in fistfuls of dollars compared to Spider-Man, which has the MCU's touch and guidance on. And so, like, yeah, everything that's not Spider-Man or Into the Spider-Verse, because evidently animated Sony's really good, is kind of hot trash.
Yeah.
And then, like, the clips from the trailer go viral just because, like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
And, like, the line that Dakota Johnson talks about, that her mother was studying spiders in the Amazon.
Which they edited out of the movie, apparently.
Rookie mistake on their part. It kind of reminded me of the Wild Thornberrys intro, where Eliza Thornberry always says, "That's when I learned that I could talk to animals." And so, like, yeah, it was weird, and it wasn't characters anyone cared about. Like, if it was Spider-Gwen, sign me up. I actually care more about Spider-Gwen than Madam Web.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I loved comic books. Spider-Man comic books were some of my favorite comic books. If you had Madam Web on the cover of a Spider-Man comic book, I wasn't buying it. I don't care about Madam Web. Do not care about that character. I can think of about 20 other female characters in the Spider-Man world I'd rather see that are interesting. Black Cat, Spider-Gwen, Silver Sable. I mean, there's tons of them. There's tons of female characters in this world. And you put Madam Web on the screen and then like you have some of these actresses and actors, they just need to stop. They just need to stop, because to say this is to join in this very toxic conversation. And then you're basically saying, well, if you say my movie wasn't good, then you just hate women, which stop that.
So I will say that there probably is a portion, and I'm not going to say it's a significantly large portion, but there probably is a significant number that might have the feelings that she described. But in the same breath, we just come off a year where the highest grossing movie was Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Barbie made over $1 billion, and
with a pretty strong feminist message in the middle of it. And that wasn't the only message, but it was one of them.
And it wasn't just women that went and watched it. There was plenty of men that went and watched it. Plenty of guys that were like, we're going to do Barbenheimer today. Yeah. And so I honestly think that we need to explore, okay, we don't have to go to the extremes. We can say maybe that was a touch of why this failed at the box office. Maybe Sony not making a good live action movie on their own with, you can argue Venom and Venom Carnage, but you're arguing and kind of going out on a limb. Like, you can say that's a legit thing. They really haven't done much here recently, live action wise. You can also say the characters are a bit obscure, which is going to make it an even less likely box office huge hit. And maybe we should dial back the budget and make a quality movie instead of just trying to get some big names, because Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney is what we were building off of. And even Ben from Parks and Rec, which that's not his name, but that's what I'm going to call him for this. And like, okay, so you have some good actors, but like they're just faces with a lousy script.
Yeah, I want to see this movie just because of how bad I heard it is, and that will be entertaining to me. And you could have even done that. Reduce the budget by like 5 times and make a campy, goofy movie.
Oh, yeah.
Of these characters. And I think that would be great.
Literally, I watched Sharknado.
We spent the whole pod episode talking about the Marvels, saying, man, it had a lot of problems. But one of the problems it didn't have was that it was kind of goofy and silly. That actually made those parts endearing a little bit. And if they'd have leaned into that from the beginning, that it would have been a good movie. The problem is they're lying to the stars, telling them they're Marvel, that this is Marvel Studios. Those stars think they're making a Marvel movie, when actually Sony, even Marvel themselves, they don't know what movie they're making. They're writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting till finally you get this jumbled mess of a movie, and it keeps happening over and over. And Sony, it's even worse because you're making Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man.
Madam Web's web connects them all.
No, that's actually not true. It's Peter Parker, Spider-Man. He's the one that connects. Yeah, do you know Ben Wyatt? You know Ben Wyatt plays Uncle Ben in this movie, but they don't mention Peter Parker at all.
Just that he's going to be an uncle.
It's so bonkers, and then this doesn't help. This stuff doesn't help. Listen, she goes on. She started praising James Gunn in this interview because she's Hot Girl in Superman Legacy.
Sweet.
And she
I'm
says,
glad she gets to be in something that might be good.
she praised him, and when she read the script where Lois Lane is really the protagonist, Superman is the symbol, but she's the ideal brought to action while being a normal woman and real. And I'm just like, listen, that's great. Like, look, I'm all for powerful women stories. She can be a powerful woman character. Lois Lane always was. But if that movie's not about Superman, it will bomb.
The movie's going to have some strong Superman with it.
I mean, you can say all these fancy words, but here's the bottom line with all this. They got to stop. We all got to stop dragging this like toxic political conversations into these things. Because at the end of the day, you can make a good movie or a bad movie. But then when you drag this into the equation, then there's no room for conversation. And the movies won't get any better. They'll just get worse.
Yes. And I mean, it kind of flies in the face because I would say superhero movies fall in the same genre or style of action movies. Literally, Charlie's Angels had sequels.
Uh-huh. And we liked it. We loved it.
Yep. So I know that's just one instance, but I mean, that's a big instance. And
Wonder Woman was one of the most popular TV shows in the late 70s.
Wonder Woman, the first movie, highly successful. The second one, they went off the rails, and that was bad script.
Yeah. But they got to stop doing this because The Marvels wasn't a good movie either. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. And this is coming from someone who liked the first Captain. I liked the first Captain Marvel movie. Even though I can admit that Brie Larson was sort of off-putting in interviews. She was sort of off-putting, and it's okay to say that. I don't think bad of her. I'm just like, listen, there's a reason they call public relations, why that's a professional thing, why there are people that are good at it, because they know what you should talk about, what you shouldn't talk about to satisfy the most people. And there are certain topics at any given time that if you talk about them, it's going to come off rough. And like, look, that doesn't mean I don't believe in certain things, but I know if I talk about, as a pastor, if I talk about certain things in certain crowds, I know it could rub people the wrong way. So I don't talk about them.
Yeah. And I mean, there's plenty of male actors that I'm like, I don't need you telling me to quit using plastic bottles, Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Yeah. And Wilford Brimley, I don't need you telling me that if I keep eating oatmeal, I'm going to get diabetes. I know.
But
I know.
I will say that I don't think we have to say that this is the main or the solo thing that brought this movie down was toxic masculinity. I mean, again, you don't have to go to the extremes. Say that it's multifaceted, and you can list that as one of the facets.
Yeah.
And you're bringing awareness to an issue that probably still is out there. Might not be as bad as it once was, but it's still being there is an issue. And then you can highlight, but we also, as producers of cinema, as my friend Marty would say, have to do a good job of making quality.
Yeah. Well, and look, if we're being honest, we're pastors, we're Christians, we're in conservative circles. Is there a problem with toxic masculinity in our country? Sure. In our own communities, in our circles we're in, yes, absolutely. There's way too many conferences about biblical manhood, which are not biblical. We just say they are. And so I'm just saying, we understand it's in our cultures, it's in our circles, and we admit that it's there. And this is a thing we should talk about, toxic masculinity. But you have to be honest when we're talking about it. You can't label everything toxic masculinity. If people don't like your movie, you can't say, well, it's just men who hate women. Like, no, come on. That's not fair. You're not dealing with this topic in a fair way, then nobody's going to talk fairly about it.
It could also just be a bad movie.
It could be. It's like all these things can be true. All these things can be true. Speaking of, sometimes this show is us reacting. The news is us reacting to actors and actresses who seem like these people in Hollywood just seem kind of out of touch. Werner Herzog. Are you familiar with Werner Herzog?
You're making up names now.
No, he's a very decorated director.
Such films as...
Well, I wasn't prepared for that, but I can look him up.
I'm not even going to begin to type out that last name.
He has done such amazing things like the Tom Cruise Jack Reacher in 2012. He has, all these fancy sounding movies. Rescue Dawn in 2006. That's a good movie. Wasn't that with Christian Bale?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I assume he's won some Oscars. He did Bad Lieutenant with Nick Cage, our guy Nick.
Oh.
Over 60 films and documentaries he's produced, written, and directed. French filmmaker Francois Truffaut once called Herzog the most important film director alive.
What?
American film critic Roger Ebert, rest in peace, said that Herzog has never created a single film that is compromised, shameful, made for pragmatic reasons, or uninteresting. So there you go. That's Werner Herzog. He recently said this funny enough, about Barbie. He was on Piers Morgan's YouTube show. Did we know Piers Morgan had a YouTube?
I assumed.
And he, near the end of the interview, he said a lot of interesting things. Apparently, Werner Herzog says a lot of interesting things.
It's a cool German-sounding name.
Piers Morgan asked him this momentous and important question, which, frankly, is joining my interview question list. I'm putting this on my interview question list. The question, Oppenheimer or Barbie? Herzog responded by saying he hasn't seen Oppenheimer. Red flags right there.
And why is it either or? I don't like that question. Piers Gill.
Because it's Piers Morgan, man. But he says he did watch the first 30 minutes of Greta Gerwig's Barbie. He says this, quote, I wanted to watch it because I was curious, and I still don't have an answer, but I have a suspicion. Could it be that the world of Barbie is sheer hell? For a movie ticket as an audience to experience sheer hell as close as it gets. Now, do I know he's being insulting? No, I don't think anybody does. But he could be. He seems to be indicating with that last line, for just about everybody, that's hell. Thoughts?
Now I'm trying to think what all happens in the first 30 minutes of Barbie.
To be fair, the first 30 minutes is the one that made the toxic masculinity people, go around the corner.
The whole Barbie world, when it's perfect, and we haven't collapsed yet.
And the dudes are ridiculous.
Honestly, if you don't laugh during that, you probably are a very miserable person.
Yeah.
But looking through his filmography, because I pulled him up after you started reading, besides the Bad Lieutenant movie,
Harvey Keitel?
A lot of these movies actually are very indie, artsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He even has a documentary about him eating his shoe.
I think the word you're looking for is pretentious.
I was trying to be nice. But so the description of Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe, a 22-minute documentary short, says famous German auteur Werner Herzog dines on leather footwear after losing a bet to a fellow filmmaker, Errol Morris. The unappetizing meal is a message of support for aspiring filmmakers.
There is nothing I want more out of life, out of podcasting, for someone somewhere someday to call me a podcasting auteur.
Yes.
Oh, this is a podcast. This podcast is about life and everything in it, and me eating a shoe. It is art. It is cinema.
So yes, this guy is a bit pretentious, and that quote does not shock me at all.
If I need a new, so we've got the black and white Marty Scorsese photo that says "This is cinema." I need a black and white photo of Warner that says "This is hell," where he looks very dour. He can't be smiling in it, and then it's going to be one of my comments things. So I'll just comment that picture.
So if that is on Twitter, tag the quote this people, and they'll make it like one of those images in black and white.
Okay. Yes, that's a good idea. We're going to do that, I think. Last bit of news, and we've got a longer news segment here today. I know that. But Jurassic World 4. Did you know they're making a Jurassic World 4, Cody?
So I thought that it wasn't going to necessarily be a fourth one. I thought it was more kind of like a reboot entry into a whole new saga.
Yeah. Let's reboot it again.
I will tell you, the first Jurassic Park and the first Jurassic World, great, fun, popcorn flicks.
Okay, Jurassic World was good. I think we shouldn't compare it to Jurassic Park, since basically it's the same movie. But Jurassic Park was visionary filmmaking, in my opinion. That movie was an experience, and everything since then were just derivatives of it, right? Which is what most sequels are, except for not every sequel. Empire Strikes Back is not derivative of Star Wars.
I will say Jurassic Park 3 better than 2. Jurassic World 2 better than Jurassic World 3.
That checks out. I'm with that. The director for the new Jurassic World 4 says the franchise is going to move even further away from Steven Spielberg's version. I wish they would move even further. Like further away from doing them. Who is seeing these movies?
So,
I mean, besides us.
Honestly, I might not go with dinosaurs anymore.
Jurassic plants.
Well, no, I mean, get Jurassic out of it and get to like
World,
the Ice Age, and you get like saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths.
Okay, so what's the name of that era? Is that Triassic? I don't know that. I don't know the dinosaur eras.
Yeah, we're lost on this.
Triassic World, Triassic Park. Is Triassic older or newer? Gosh, we need a scientist.
We do.
We need just someone who sits in the corner for these kind of conversations as they come up and is just ready to help us out. Director David Leitch will be the guy taking on Jurassic 4. He's done movies like Deadpool 2, Bullet Train, and Atomic Blonde, which kind of gives you an idea of what they're going after here, the kind of action-ish. He wants it to be more action-oriented, which, I don't know, weren't all the Jurassic World movies action-oriented?
I mean, eventually they all end up there.
All right. I mean, let's just be honest. If this was the 80s, there's only one way this franchise can go, and that is space. Jurassic Park in space.
Sharknado went to space.
Of course it did, because it's hilarious. But also what we used to do with movies. So take it. Dinosaurs in space. Let's see it.
Which,
how did a T-Rex get on the International Space Station, Cody?
Well, I mean, literally, David Hasselhoff went to space to stop that Sharknado.
God bless the Hoff.
And Gary Busey had to help him get to space.
That movie does not exist. You're just making this up. That's a real movie?
It's like Sharknado 4.
Why haven't we put that in like the Library of Congress? That needs to be protected and saved.
So I'm not going to lie. Sharknado 1 through 4 might be the best series of films I've ever seen. It's because they're so over the top ridiculous. And then you get these weird cameos. But honestly, I think where you go with Jurassic Park is get out of the Jurassic area, get to the Pleistocene epic area, which is the Ice Age.
The Pleistocene?
Which is the Ice Age. And you get woolly mammoths and you get saber-toothed tigers and insert whatever other random animals are wandering at this time, like the giant
Didn't we already do a
Three-toed
cartoon
sloth?
series on this?
Yes.
Or you mean bringing those into the present?
You know what? Let's just make Ice Age live action and call it good.
Police the Scene Park. Let's make it happen. Come on, Hollywood. You know you want to. All right. That's what we got for the news. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will get to our main topic. We're talking about our favorite weird television shows coming right up. All right, we're back, Cody, to talk about our favorite weird TV shows. Okay, so really, I didn't really kind of guide you in any way. I just thought whatever you liked, that looking back on it, especially, you can look at a show and say, well, that was a weird TV show. It was a weird concept.
So as you pitched this idea to me, I had a couple voices in my head. People like Scotty, that like you have to go super fringe for it to be a weird show.
He was telling us all of it. He's messaging us all these shows. I'm like, you just made these up. These are not real shows.
And then I had the voice of my mom in my head saying, well, you know, like that Game of Thrones, that's weird, right? Dragons?
I like that was what was weird. Dragons? Really? Not the, frozen zombie things?
Doctor Who? Like, there's time travel? So I'm like, I don't know. And the weird thing is like my mom loves Murder, She Wrote, which basically is this lady who writes murder mysteries, but wherever she happens to be, there happens to be a murder, and she's asked by the police to help to solve it.
Your mom's awesome, by the way. She'd be like the A-Team. They're the good guys, but a windowless van? Really? with a red stripe for no reason? And a spoiler? What's that doing? Yeah. So what prompted me to think about this was a TV show in the 80s called Small Wonder.
This sounded made up to me, gang.
No, it wasn't made up. It was very popular, and it was brought to my attention. And I just started thinking about how weird it is because it's a sitcom, but the whole premise of it was based on the dad of the family's a robotic engineer. Like, listen, I can't explain to you why we were so into robots in the 80s. I think it probably had something to do with droids and Star Wars. But we were really into robots in the 80s, so much so that you see them in these movies and TV shows. Rocky IV is always a great example where Rocky's, trainer and brother-in-law, Paulie, just randomly has a robot made.
Yep.
And it's creepy and weird. And I don't know, we were just into robots. So Small Wonder is about this family whose the dad is a robotic engineer. He makes robots. He builds a robot that looks like a 9-year-old girl and then lies to everyone about it being a robot. Says that it's this girl that they've adopted, which if that sounds absolutely bonkers, it's because it is. What is that? That's so odd.
That is.
And it sounds like, what was that movie that came out last year about the AI robot friend? Sounds like that's how you'd make that these days. The one you saw where the mom gets her girl a robot friend.
Megan.
And it goes crazy.
Megan.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how that story would get written now. But in the 80s, it was, she's part of the family. And she has pigtails.
Megan was a part of the family until Megan went rogue. Like all robots.
Side note, that is half of our movie structure nowadays. It's like, we can make a movie about the guy that works the counter at Wendy's. Then he goes rogue. Here's a guy, who's you just minding his business, pumping his gas in his car, and then someone walks by and shoots his dog. Then he goes rogue. Like that seems to be like half of our movies now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So anyway, Small Wonder is kind of what got me started thinking about this. And I just thought, let's, Cody and I, think about the TV shows we've liked that when you think back on them, were kind of weird. We're kind of weird. So I'll let you go first, Cody. Start with your first one.
Okay, so I'm going to pitch it to you.
All right. Okay.
We're in the 90s.
This is a good way to do this. Yeah. Just kind of tell me the synopsis and what it's about first, and then we'll see if we can guess.
Okay, so we're in the mid 90s. And everyone loves the Power Rangers.
Of course they do, yeah.
I didn't. Everyone is all about computers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we were. It's the information superhighway.
And Joey Lawrence is king.
Whoa.
What if I can tell you 2 of the 3 will kind of be the generic versions of what I just listed, but we'll get the computers.
Okay.
And we'll make a show where basically it's computerized Power Rangers, but they kick Giga butt.
You're losing me a little bit. I'm not understanding, but keep going.
Yes, they kick Giga butt.
Is that a real thing from the show?
Yes.
Okay. Good line. That's a good pun.
And the Giga butt that they're kicking just happens to be voiced by Tim Curry.
Wow. No way. How'd they get Tim Curry?
That is a good question.
They paid the big bucks for him. Blew half the budget on that.
That might be why the show only went from 1994 to 1995.
Okay.
The show is titled Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
That is made up.
That is not. It stars a one Matthew Lawrence. So that's our generic Joey. We went the next brother younger.
Okay.
And we got Matt. And then him and his friends who all have computers, they team up and they form the Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which they then are like just going into the mainframe and they're beating up this bad virus that's voiced by Tim Curry, and they form Servos, and I really want to go back and watch this because it was really cool back in the day, and they had maybe the coolest logo out of the Power Rangers, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, and Ben 10. And like they formed a really cool looking like robot, and I would love to have that action figure.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "What is that?" And I would be like, "Oh, let me tell you about my friend, the Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad."
Wow. So when they formed the bigger robot, did it have a name? Because it should always have a name, right?
Well, it formed Servos.
Oh, Servos. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Voltron aspect. Right?
Yes.
That was so. I think Voltron comes before Transformers. I'm not sure about that, but it's all around the same time where Voltron was a bunch of 5 lions, robotic lion ships that formed together, that had pilots, but they could form together to one big giant warrior robot named Voltron. And then, comes those wave of like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That was a big thing. Like I think Robotech might have been in that category too. I don't know, but we love that. We love the idea of a team forming a giant robot.
It was just Servo, not Servos. I thought it was plural. It was just Servo.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
It is. But the show was epic.
Yeah, you definitely buy that show.
Yes.
If you're pitching it, I'm buying. I'm like, what could possibly go wrong with that?
Again, they have Tim Curry.
Sold.
That's all you need.
Green light that thing. You green light it. Okay. Cody, it's 1979.
Fond year for me.
Here's my show. It's a retelling of the English folktale Robin Hood, but from an American perspective. About a family of moonshiners, bootleggers, right? Centers around a couple cousins in this family, and they're constantly running up against, the police force and city slickers and all these people back in their, their backwoods home in the South. And so they're bootleggers, they're criminals. Essentially, the cousins are out on probation at the beginning of the show. But here's the rub. Cody, you ready for this?
I am.
They're the good guys, and kids are gonna love them. I'm talking about the Dukes of Hazzard.
The Duke Boys. Who
Randomly, for no apparent reason, as they're running away from all these bad guys they're going up against, have welded the door shut on their car. I don't, that seems to hamper quick getaways, but it is what it is. That's just what they did.
It looks really cool when you slide in through the window.
It does look cool. They're constantly I think they were the precursor for the action stars sliding across the front of the car while, when they were trying to get in the car quickly. And if you're coming from one side and you're the driver, you have to get across. So naturally you slide across the hood because you pick up speed, right?
Yes.
I'm not an expert in quantum physics or physics, but that just makes sense. And they slide across the hood of the car, or they jump in through the window, and then they're, will the Duke boys get away this time? Keep watching to find out. Waylon Jennings was the voice there.
Yes.
The cops are just randomly the bad guys in this show. The mayor, Boss Hogg, for all we know, just wants law and order done. Yeah, he gets rich off that. But somehow he's the bad guy. I don't think this is a perfect cross from Robin Hood to this. I don't think it's a perfect allegory.
I do think, though, that it works, because I really hadn't thought about it in those terms. More often than not, I thought the Duke boys were self-serving. But, they are the quote-unquote good guys being bad guys to do good things. There is a sheriff that is just out there to make $1 and has to report to the higher up mayor instead of a king. But yeah,
listen, to 5-year-old me, it didn't matter what they did. They were the good guys. I love that show. I love that song. Just the good old boys, never meaning no harm. It's so good. That theme song lives on. It's goated forever.
If you get Waylon Jennings to sing a song for you, then it's going to sound good.
It was amazing that they got him to do the theme song, but then to do inevitably every episode, the last commercial break would end with them. They were running away from someone. Someone's chasing them. Usually Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Yep.
The deputy, or is he the sheriff? He's the sheriff. The deputy was. I don't remember his name, but Deputy Enos.
Yep, Enos.
Yeah, and they'd always be running away from the cops, and they'd jump over something in the General Lee, which was the name of their car, and in mid-flight it would freeze frame, and Waylon Jennings would come and go, the old Duke boys have done it this time. How are they going to get out of this one?
So
I don't know, Waylon.
Watching the Dukes of Hazzard, I thought there would be a lot more road construction where there would be ramps of dirt.
I thought I was going to go out into the world and there would just be way more bridges out.
Yes.
But there's not, for the most part. You don't see that as much as the Dukes of Hazzard made me think there would be.
Yeah, I thought I would accidentally be jumping over things left and right, and thus I have not taken a vehicle jumping over significant mounds of dirt or gravel.
Yeah. Yeah, but physics, there were all sorts of physics problems in this show.
It seemed accurate to me.
And these days I would need more science. Go ahead. What's your next one?
Okay. So, Dave, let's venture into the animated realm. I know you like Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course I do.
Well, let me pitch you a kids' television show with a lot of Shakespearean themes.
A kids' television show?
Yes.
Right.
A melodrama with complex story arcs. Mm-hmm. Not for the faint of heart. Okay, this is going to be bananas to you. I need you to brace yourself.
I'm braced.
After spending 1,000 years in an enchanted, petrified state, gargoyles who have been transported from medieval Scotland are reawakened in modern-day New York City and take on roles as the city's secret nighttime protectors. I will tell you, this voice cast is amazing. Keith David as Goliath. Mm-hmm. Edward Asner as Hudson. Jonathan Frakes has a voice in it.
Number one?
And
he was number one. He didn't call him number two. Yeah, and I'm getting confused. Star Trek Next Generation. Anyways.
And then the assistant coach from the show Coach, Bill, who has
Bill Fagerbach.
Thank you. Has an intense last name.
Was also in
Patrick as SpongeBob, or on SpongeBob as Patrick, and the made-for-TV series of that Stephen King.
The Stand. Yeah, he was also the Marshall's dad in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, well, he was the MOON guy in The Stand. So that's what we know him for in these here parts.
Yeah, and he will always be remembered as Dauber from Coach, though.
Yes. And there's other famous names as like Thomas F. Wilson. But yeah, no, I'm talking about the Disney, technically it's a sci-fi show, Gargoyles.
Yeah. So this one I've heard of. And I was aware that it was popular, never watched it.
Like, there are clips that play on the internet to this day, and I'm like, this was in a kid's show.
Yeah.
Like, as at the same time that Ren and Stimpy is out there, which, holy cow, that's a whole nother level of weird.
Yes, right. Uh-huh.
Like, the brain cells that were lost watching that, I was gaining brain cells watching this. Mm-hmm. And having depth added to my soul.
Yeah. This is one of those things on social media where I still see people calling for a live action remake of this. They want a live action remake of Gargoyles.
Honestly, I'm okay just going back rewatching this show. Mm-hmm. I need to see if it's on Disney Plus. Because honestly, it was legit. And that is when I learned Keith David has an amazing voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's like one of those character actors that's been in a billion things, and you can't remember any one of them. I think maybe one of them was it Major League 2 that he was in? He was in one of the Major League movies, as he usually played kind of a bad guy that you didn't like. But yeah, great voice.
When Community had started to run on a little too long, they brought him in, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
Just because of him.
Yeah. Yeah, great character actor.
So, yes, Gargoyles. If you want, because at like daytime, they would turn back into the petrified gargoyles that would be like on a church or something. Mm-hmm. And then at night, they would come alive.
It's a weird thing. The Middle Ages were weird, right?
Very much so.
Gargoyles on the church? Why? I don't get it. Anyways. Okay, Cody, we're going back to the 80s. It's funny how our eras are playing out here.
Yes.
And I have another sitcom just about a regular suburban middle-class family. The Tanners. You got Dad, Willie, Mom, Kate, Andrea, teenage Andrea, and middle sub-teenager Benji. Lynn and Brian. That was the actors' names. Lynn and Brian Tanner. And one day, an alien crashes into their garage.
So when you said the Tanners, my mind went to a completely different series, even though when you first started, I was like, oh, he's going to this place, and I'm right about where you're going.
Nope. These tanners came before those tanners.
Yes.
And you know what's weird is I remember in the pilot episode, the dad like writes jingles, and I actually remember the song of the advertising jingle he's working on. You ready for this?
I am.
Asparagus, asparagus, you put it on your table. Asparagus, it was brutal. And an alien life form crashes into the garage. And interestingly, that's the name of the show, the acronym for that, ALF. It's Alf, whose real name was Gordon Shumway. That was the alien's actual name. His name was Gordon.
Oh.
As it is with all aliens. They have very normal names. He eats cats. He's very witty and funny. And I don't know what it was. I think it was just, so I think in some way it capitalizes off the popularity of the Muppets.
Yes.
We just kind of like Muppety things. And Alf is very Muppety because I tried to go back and rewatch this. Oh no. It's weird. It's not funny. But we thought it was funny. And for the life of me, I don't know why we thought it was funny.
I'm not going to lie. Following the Alf Twitter account, hilarious. I love it. There's a lot of eating cats, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the big joke. He always wanted to eat the family cat. And his catchphrase was, what was it? It was so simple. Well, I can't remember now. It was very Blossom like. What was the dude on Joey Lawrence like?
Whoa.
He said, "No problem." That was like his catchphrase, and it was like, "Oh, Alf, you scamp! There he goes. He's gonna go try and eat the cat again." Yeah, I don't know, man. That was one of those things from the '80s I can't really explain. The character design of it was great, though. It was a great looking costume.
It was, and also, like, I'm not going to lie. Looking back at it, is this like benchmark, like at least yellow flags of potential like serial killer vibes? Like if you like Alf and was really rooting for him to eat the cat, is that something that we should be concerned about?
Well, not only that, but what if Alf, like they just trust this alien because he's witty and he speaks English.
Very convenient.
He seems to have a grasp of American pop culture. And so they just trust him. But this could be like American Psycho. I mean, he could be Christian Bale.
You know?
He could have killed them all in their sleep. They wouldn't have been any the wiser.
That's how I like to think the series ended.
That's probably how it would go now. It's funny to think about how these shows would be redone now. And we're so much more serious now. We're so much more serious. Like, that's how it would go now. It's this. It's the same thing. The alien, he crash lands into the house. Then he goes rogue. Oh, come on, man. Okay. What do you got?
Okay, so I'm going more modern now.
All right.
Picture it. 2016.
I'm picturing.
Serious things are happening in the world around us.
But it's more innocent times.
It
Good
is
times.
more innocent times. So, like, violence, potential school shootings. But there's one way to stop it.
The A-Team?
No. That would be too easy, Dave. No.
We probably couldn't find them or afford them.
Couldn't.
But if you can.
But it's
maybe
close
we can hire.
It's close to the A-Team.
All right.
It involves dancing and yoga.
Oh, wow, you lost me. I did not
Maybe
think that's
it's
where that was going.
jazzercise.
This is what?
I don't even know what they're doing, to be honest. But then you randomly insert Phyllis from The Office in the background, and she's helping out the team, and she's jazzercising and doing yoga to prevent these horrible things from happening, and then to discover that there's like an alternate reality sort of thing. It's the OA, not the A-Team.
Yeah, this is actually on my list.
It was legit.
I don't even know if you could give us an entire show to talk about the weirdness of this show.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure we could even scratch the surface of how weird this is. Like, the worst part about this show is they do 2 seasons and then it gets canceled and we still have no idea what the freak is going on here.
Oh yeah, like especially the second season, like they're shooting like a show or a commercial, and then there's a house, and I don't know, and there's these weird movements, yoga, dance, jazzercise. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I like to think it was like feng shui. Like they were just trying to find the right positions to be one with the universe. Like that's what those shows are always about, right?
Yes.
They mean God, but they always say the universe. It's crazy. That show was bonkers. That show was actually bonkers. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that right? Wow. Whew.
And again, Phyllis Vance from The Office.
Yeah, there's not a lot of recognizable names in it because Jason Isaacs would have been the other bigger recognizable person.
Or if you are a fan of Community, which I know there's a couple people that listen that are. Mm-hmm. The star, the OA, Britt Marling. Mm-hmm. She is in one episode of Community.
Right. Yes.
Because her and Britta go to the dance thinking that the other one is a lesbian, and neither of them are actually lesbians. They're just trying to be cool and be progressive. And they make fun of that.
That's a great episode.
So, yes.
Oh, yeah. So this TV show is weird. It's essentially about a girl who disappears after she's been missing for 7 years, shows back up. And when she disappeared, as a young girl, she was blind. When she's back, she can see. And she's got all these weird, like, memories.
Yes.
And it's very kind of sci-fi-ish.
And they, like, have to team up at times to stop things from happening or do things so things can happen. I honestly need to go back and rewatch and see if I'm like, this makes sense or not.
Yeah.
It feels like a fever dream at this point.
My next pitch, Cody, I'm going to scoot forward in time myself. I'm going to go into the mid to late aughts here. This was a series that was on the CW. Smallville would have been my thing, but this show comes on a little after I think Smallville starts.
We're going in the Arrowverse.
No, not the Arrowverse.
One Tree Hill.
The show I'm pitching is about a young man who still lives at home with his parents. He's dropped out of college.
Oh, this is not starting off good.
He just kind of hangs out and he's playing video games. He's just kind of aimless, shiftless. But on his 21st birthday, his parents start acting weird. That's where we're going. And he starts having visions, hellish visions, Cody.
Oh.
And experiencing odd events. You didn't think it was going that direction, but it is.
This took a drastic turn into left field.
His father eventually says that many years ago he was very sick, and in return for restoring his health, he and his wife promised their firstborn child to, you guessed it, the devil.
Come on, Mom and Dad.
It's that tale as old as time, the old yarn where someone sold their soul to the devil. In this case, they sold their child. And this show is about a young man who is literally Lucifer's dad. That's the whole point of the show, except it's a comedy. And he shows up, does the devil, and he's supposed to be a reaper. The show's called Reaper.
Oh. So
he's basically a bounty hunter for the devil. And I know what you're thinking, Dave, you're a pastor. I mean, it's played for laughs. The amazing Ray Wise plays the devil, which I can't even imagine the devil now without just picturing him as Ray Wise.
So there's like 15 shows that featured the devil in some way or another, including Lucifer. And like the guy that was Lucifer in that show, like he there's a musical episode, and so that's what comes into my mind. It's very hilarious.
Do you know what Hollywood gets right about the devil? He's always super likable. He's magnetic. He draws people to him. And even with every time I see him on like a TV show or whatever, and this one's played for laughs, of course. They play him, even though Ray Wise's character is very severe and kind of murderous at times, he's still super likable and magnetic. And I thought, as I've gone older and grown deeper in faith, I realized, oh yeah, they actually get that part right. But Ray Wise is amazing in this show. Also, I want to bring out that a young, larger man like myself named Tyler Labine is in this show. He would go on to be in things such as, Invasion, Deadbeat, but you might know him from a show called New Amsterdam, where he plays Dr. Iggy Frome. And he was awesome in this show. He was hilarious in this show as Sam's friend. And I liked this show. It was entertaining to me.
Or you would know him as Dale from Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
And before my church friends get all nervous, basically Sam is constantly trying to subvert the plans of the devil in this show.
Well, that's nice.
Even though he's supposed to be working for him. And so that's kind of the gimmick. That's kind of the shtick of the show. And I liked it. It was weird, though. Super weird.
Okay. I'm going a little bit back in time. And to Channel 4, which is a British thing.
Oh, okay. I was like, Fox?
No. 1999, only was on 2 seasons, but this show's brilliant. Tim, a comic book artist who just broke up with the love of his life, and Daisy, an aspiring writer, meet by chance and decide to pose as a professional couple to secure a relatively cheap flat. Because the person that owns it was only going to rent to professional couples.
Yeah.
And this show is amazing. It features Simon Pegg as Tim, the comic book aficionado.
I like him already.
Nick Frost is in it as his friend Mike. They go paintballing together. Oh, Mike has this epic mustache. It's brilliant. Edgar Wright.
Yeah. It's the trio. That's the trio.
That's the trio right there. Jessica Hines plays Daisy. And so the Marcia is the lady that owns the flat. And there's several apartment that in it. And one of the apartments is rented by a guy named Brian, and he's an artist, a suffering artist. And so he his scenes are always over the top and dramatic and oh my goodness, things of nightmares, because it just flashes and he's angry all the time. Yeah. And then he has these heartfelt moments just randomly. But no, there's this tension of, will Simon Pegg's character Tim ever actually connect with Daisy? Because they date other people, they hook up back with their old significant others, but then they eventually start to kind of develop feelings. It's
the Ross and Rachel.
It is
what every good TV show is built on.
But sadly, this one only lasts 2 years, but there's an epic episode where they are in a paintball battle that has flashbacks to their childhood. And Mike, who is played by Nick Frost, his character has a mustache as a child.
Nice.
It is ridiculous. It's British. It's great.
What's the name of the show?
It is Spaced.
Space, yeah. Yeah. They go on a run, dude. Those three, they go on a run. Culminating in, if you have not seen Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz is brilliant.
Oh, it's so genius. Skewers the buddy cop movie kind of tropes. Oh my goodness. I laughed so hard when I watched that movie. Just so good. What is it about those two together, especially Simon Pegg and his friend
Nick Frost?
Nick Frost. Yeah. Oh man.
They know how to play off each other.
Yeah. So good. Should we just kind of go fast now?
I only got one more.
Yeah, okay. Let's dump the pitch meeting. Hit me with your last one, and then I'll rapid fire through some.
Okay. Picture it. It's Sicily. No, we're in Miami. It's
that
golden.
Was a big, Whoa!
It's
You just threw me for a loop. I'm in Sicily, now I'm in Miami?
well, it's the Golden Girls. Because Sophia's always like, picture it, Sicily, 1916 or whatever. It's weird that a show around 3 senior citizen ladies and one of their moms becomes this epic pop culture phenomenon as they're living in Miami and not really fitting the standard norms of what you think grandmas should be doing.
Yeah.
Especially Blanche. I'm looking at you, Blanche.
Yeah, you know, people now think we were so backwards the farther back in time you go. But listen, we went through a phase where we really loved, female-oriented ensemble shows. We loved some Golden Girls. Man, we loved Designing Women.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Designing Women? Steel Magnolias? Yeah. Oh, we loved that stuff. Ate it up. And people, like, we still love Golden Girls. That's a soft spot in our heart.
Yeah, Designing Women, the Sugar Bakers.
Yeah,
Julia,
yeah,
Sugar Baker.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, yeah. Well, this will just kind of be honorable mentions.
Hit me with them.
One season of a show back in 1991, from September 15th, 1991 to December 9th, 1993. It was just one season.
That is the longest season.
A show called Erie, Indiana. Most people don't even remember this. I was trying to tell someone about this show today, and they were like, I've never, you just made that up. And they were my age. I'm like, no, man, this was a show. Because I can remember there was a Super Bowl where they were advertising. They spent money advertising for this show. Essentially, Erie, Indiana is, it's, what's that cartoon everyone loves now? All the kids love it, about the weird place. Granite Falls? Wait, no, is that it? Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls.
My kids love Gravity Falls, and I'm like, dude, this is Erie, Indiana, except it's a cartoon. We already did this. It was called Erie, Indiana. It was live action. It was about these kids who just live in this weird place where all these weird things happen.
So they tried to do something kind of like that with Sci-Fi's Eureka.
Yeah.
Like weird things happen, but the whole town's like secret scientists. So it's to be expected.
Yeah, there was all sorts of weird stuff. I love the show, but it only lasted one season, and it was sad because I think they put a lot of. It was one of those weird instances where they put a lot of effort into the marketing of it, and then it just kind of fell apart. And I don't know why that happens sometimes. Maybe the execs weren't sold on it.
Happens to the best of them.
But I remember people liking it. Here's one that didn't struggle. A little show called Severance. Severance, if you haven't seen it, is based on inside a biotech company that uses a medical procedure called severance to separate the memories of their employees, depending spatially on whether they're at work or not. So they split their consciousness into work versions of their identity and home versions of their identity, and they don't know what they're doing.
Patricia Arquette, she's still alive.
Awesome. So happy for you, Patricia.
So that was the thing that stood out to me initially watching it. I'm like, is that Patricia Arquette?
Yeah.
But no, the show is like clever, brilliant.
Oh, man. Dude, it was so good. I'd heard people talk about it, and I come to it
You
late.
heard me talk about it nonstop.
I came to it late. My wife and I binged it and we went fast through it, and it's awesome. Everybody in it is great. Just wonderful acting in it. There was a show back in the mid 2010s called Wayward Pines.
I heard of it.
It's interesting how I like these kind of weird, mysterious shows. Basically, the show was about a U.S. Secret Service agent who's investigating the disappearance of a couple fellow agents in this small town of Wayward Pines, Idaho. It's very much, it has some similarities to the show we like to watch now, From.
Yes.
Where when he comes to the town, he gets like kind of entrapped in this loop. When he tries to leave the town, he finds that he can't leave the town. The mystery deepens. And the first season is so fantastic. It stars Matt Dillon, Carla Gugino, real big people. Juliette Lewis is in this. Terrence Howard, Jason Patrick. Like, this is a TV show. And all these people are in it. It's good stuff. Season 1 is fantastic. The pilot's directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Mud Night.
And then season 2 comes around and we're like all psyched and excited, and it's terrible. It's brutal. It was like, so they're trying to cash in. It's another one of these shows where they're trying to cash in on the Lost craze. And it was like, I think so many of these shows kind of misinterpret why people liked Lost.
So while you were talking about that spurred 2 shows, Stand Against Evil and Ash versus Evil Dead. They're almost the same show.
Yeah.
Except John C. McGinley is Bruce Campbell and John C. McGinley is a sheriff. But they are hilarious and they play off of the horror genre really well. Mm-hmm. And it's over the top campy, and I do enjoy when you lean into the campiness and you make it humorous.
Yeah.
You know what you are.
Ash versus the Evil Dead, of course, spawned from the Evil Dead franchise. If you've never seen the third movie in that franchise, Army of Darkness, shame on you.
Shame.
Go watch
know your name.
Go watch Army of Darkness. Bruce Campbell's a star. A star. My last one, and I saved this for last on purpose because it has a special place. Aired from 2007 to 2009, and this was one of those where it was good. It was just a great show, and then it gets canceled for no, kind of like the OA, where except this is about as far from that sort of narrative as possible because it's not complicated. It stars Lee Pace as a guy named Ned, who's a pie maker, with the ability to bring dead things back to life by touching them. Just normal.
That's very common.
The ability comes with stipulations, however. Together with his formerly deceased childhood crush, played by Anna Friel, his co-worker, played by Kristen Chenoweth, and private investigator, played by the great Shy McBride, Ned uses his abilities to solve murder cases. It was touted as a forensic fairy tale, known for its unusual visual style, eccentric production design, quirky characters, fast-paced dialogue, and grotesque situations. This show, Pushing Daisies, you ever heard of this show?
So I had friends in college that were obsessed with this show and were
so good,
so disappointed when it got canceled.
Yeah, if you were putting a list of the top 5 shows that got canceled and gutted people, this would be in that top 5. Pushing Daisies gutted. When they canceled it, it just gutted people. My wife and I love this show.
So it's one that I've always wanted to go back and watch because I've never watched it. I just have had all these people in my life that are like, it was so good.
I guarantee if you go back and watch it, I haven't gone back and watched it, but I guarantee it holds up because it was just so unique, so interesting, and so charming. It was really charming. A lot of that is based on the performances. Lee Pace, obviously we know him. He played Ronan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy. Played one of the high elves in the The Hobbit series, which we shall not talk about.
I'm not going to lie. That dude was like my favorite part of The Hobbit and Guardians. I thought, brought some hilarity with his seriousness.
Yeah.
So, no, now that I know his name, it's like, hey, that guy, I might actually watch this now.
And Kristen Chenoweth, I will watch anything with Kristen Chenoweth.
Wicked.
Yeah, she's amazing in everything. She is just brilliant. Yeah, so that's what we got. Some of the weirder TV shows that are some of our favorites.
Yes, Pushing Daisies is like Firefly level. We're bringing it back.
Oh man, I wish they would.
Level of fans.
I wish they would. Yeah, people were gutted. I'm not making that up. Hey, tell us on our social media posts which weird TV shows you've been a fan of. Maybe we didn't think of some. I'm sure there are.
Oh, there's a ton.
Half of these I didn't think of until today when I was just thinking about TV shows I liked and then thinking about the plot and going, that was weird.
I wasn't joking with the Game of Thrones or the Doctor Who thing. Like, what we would just call the fantasy genre in whole could be weird.
So let us know what weird shows you liked. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our pod, rate it, review it. That's helpful to us. We just want to grow the community. That's what we like to do. Then we go to comic conventions like we're doing a week from the day this pod drops. We'll be in Planet Comic Con coming
KC.
up on March, what is that?
8th through the 10th.
March 8th, yeah, through the 10th. So come visit us at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. We'll have a booth there, and we'd love to take selfies with you and give you some free Pop Culture Pastor swag.
Give you a nice crisp high five. Or knuckles.
Don't you go losing that. As always, hey, maybe we had an opinion that you disagree with. Maybe that upset you in the moment. But we believe here at Pop Culture Pastor that the world puts too much focus and tries to divide on what we don't have in common. We like to end every show and make sure you know that we like to focus on what we do have in common. And what we have in common is we love these stories. We love talking about geeky things. And we love focusing on the things we have in common because you know what? We're better together. So thank you so much for listening. Cody, is there anything you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, we are better together. Thank you for pointing that out.
We are. Awesome. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.